everybody, Strategic Operative here. Today I'm going to be talking about the Starhawk from Star Wars Armada. I know this video is a little bit later, and the reason being is because I just wasn't fully ready to address the Starhawk and the mechanics it brings to Star Wars Armada. And although at this point not much is known about the Starhawk nor its mechanics, I think I am a little bit better equipped to answer this question on some of the mechanics after playtesting a little bit, just some homebrew scenarios, and what wouldn't be broken if we brought into Star Wars Armada with the Starhawk versus what would be broken. And although we're still talking about speculation at this point, I do think that we can have a somewhat educated guess when looking at the Starhawk what its abilities is going to be. First off, I would like to point out just the the new defense tokens which we're getting. We know that it is a counter defense, which is very interesting mechanic that I've wanted to see for the longest time in Star Wars Armada, and now we're finally getting it. It's very interesting. The reason being, and I've been playing a little bit just using a similar system of counter. Granted, we don't know exactly what this counter mechanism is going to be, but I do believe that it's probably going to be half your armament rounded down, and of course you're adding range into this. So if you're attacking, say, a Simoon's front arc at long range, how many die you have? A unarmed Simoon has 5 red dice out of its front arc, so it would be rolling 2 dice out of the front at long range to counter you, since it's half rounded down. That would be my sort of take and opinion at this point of what counter is going to look like, because it's still effective, but it's not completely broken, especially when you put it on something like a Super Star Destroyer, if that's able. It seems like because this package comes with 4 or 5 of these counter tokens, the whole pack, the expansion, comes with 9 defense tokens. We've only seen a ship go up to 6, and that was the Super Star Destroyer, and I doubt that, even though the Starhawk is amazing, I don't think it's going to hold 6 defense tokens. I think it's probably going to hold 4, and there's possibly going to be upgrades available that you can equip other ships in your fleet, whether that's going to be through titles, which might be which might be more realistic because they'll want you to use the Starhawk to enhance other ships, or there might just be an officer that gives whatever ship that he or she is assigned to these defense tokens, and you'll be able to counter with half of your armament at whatever range was directed, rounded down. That's the most common idea that I have right now of what counter can be in Star Wars Armada. Against squadrons, I don't think it's going to be squadrons. I think it's just going to be just purely anti-ship, which you know, I'd like to be wrong. I would like to see a more anti-squadron based attack, which is, of course, I'm always looking for an edge against squadrons here. The second thing we're looking at, the tractor beam, is the most important aspect of the Starhawk. We know it was used in the Battle of Jakku to defeat the Ravager, sending it into Jakku's atmosphere. So it makes sense that the actual Starhawk will have some tractor beam technology and introduce something new elements into Star Wars Armada, possibly working beyond long range like the Onager Star Destroyer. It wouldn't surprise me if FFG is trying to give both Rebels and Imperials different options beyond long range. Imperial players just adding an extra barrage of dice, and then Rebel players giving them, you know, maybe a little bit of strategic opportunities using tractor beams. Tractor beams, you know, haven't been that effective in Armada. I mean, there is the interdictor, and in a lot of campaigns it actually does quite well, but really in a 400 point format it's fun to play with, but I wouldn't necessarily call it high level competitive. It's still fun though. You still can make it competitive. You know, I don't want to say that and here's somebody who runs competitively with the interdictor, but ordinarily that's the case. I think this is going to make this sort of technology possibly even more common and 400-point formats, and I'm excited to see how it goes. I think it's going to work where you, beyond long range, where you can reduce somebody's speed by 1 or increase somebody's speed by 1. Maybe there's a different option or upgrade, almost like the interdictor, where you have a few different options to choose for your retrofit. I think it's going to be possibly where instead of moving asteroids closer to your ships or to your opponent's ships, you can move ships closer to asteroids and possibly ram ships. Especially with an SSD, if you could just be able to bump it, they'll have to come up with some new mechanic of how to do this sort of maneuver or how to move ships. But it would be very, very interesting and very deadly for larger ships, huge ships, in general. But it's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, it's adding 2 new components, the tractor beam and counter. So let me know what you guys think of both of these mechanics. How do you think they're going to play out in Star Wars Armada, and how effective do you think we're going to see future playstyles using these technologies in Star Wars Armada?